Welcome to Straight Talk Sacred Pathway. I'm Stuart Wellborn, a British author and former therapist, and each week I sit down with Juan Anichi, a spiritual elder from Turtle Island, to explore the deeper truths behind healing, ceremony, and connection to Source.
I wonder how many people realize that the Constitution of the United States was taken almost word for word from the indigenous people.
Really?
And it was so funny because Ben Franklin once said, these savages had been living by these laws for thousands of years, and they've been getting along fantastic. Why can't we, as a civilized nation, do the same? That was quite a slam. Huh? Hmm.
Do you want to elaborate on that? Because you said they took it. I don't know the words of the Constitution because I'm not American and we don't have shit like that over here.
But they left out some of the important things. Number one, that women had equal rights, and that everybody would uh, would be housed, would be given shelter. So, but it's so funny, we sit there. I know Russ at one time, Russell Means had made a statement like that, and it's funny how Russ and I started off. Basically, he was on the wrong foot, and he didn't like me at all. And then one day we were sitting, and they were doing a sweat lodge, and he was inside the lodge and everything, and they had the door open so the rocks would be brought in. So he didn't realize I was the firekeeper. So when I walked in with the rocks, he just gave me this funniest look ever. Like, what the hell are you doing here? You're with the Justice Department. So after the lodge was finished, he walked up and he said, "What are you doing here? Don't you work for the Justice Department?" And I said, "Well, I may work for the Justice Department, Russ, but doesn't mean I'm not spiritual and I follow the old ways." He just kind of looked at me, he smiled, he shook my hand, and we became friends.
So I've got a cat on my lap now. Let's go back a bit to what you're just saying. The Constitution was based on your kind of teachings. So how did that happen? How did that come about then?
Well, Ben Franklin was actually studying the Iroquois laws, and he took, he said, these are some good laws, so he took them, and they wrote the Constitution of the United States based on the indigenous people way of life.
So did you have them written down then? These laws
Yeah,
or what?
there's documentation and everything on it. It's funny because people don't realize that the indigenous people follow rules and regulations that basically have been set down by the creator, or if you want to call him God, the supreme being, on how to live your life here upon the earth. And they gave us teachers. And those teachers basically gave us a lot of knowledge, and a lot of them basically, like in the animals, the Ojibwa have 7 sacred animals. There are more animals, but those are the basic ones. Like, for instance, the buffalo chooses to honor all life. So we go from the teaching of the buffalo to teach us how to respect all things. It doesn't mean respect just humans, but respect all life. And then, of course, the eagle basically was created and gave us the teaching to love the creator, to love Mother Earth, and to live to basically oneself, family, and others. And it has to come from your heart in an act of love. So that's what the eagle taught us. The bear gave us courage to do what is right and to listen to one's heart in order to make decisions. And then we even had Sabi, our Bigfoot, basically taught us honesty, to be truthful when we speak. The beaver, wisdom, teaches to use one's gifts to build a peaceful world. Yeah, the wolf, humanity. The wolf bows his head, shows humanity. It teaches us equality among all beings, putting others before yourself. The turtle carries all life. Teachings represent truth to live by, to bring together all other values in life.
There is one more.
So it's kind of funny that you sit there and the rules and regulations that were given to us, if we would follow them, we would be a better world.
Hey, Dad,
Hold
forgot
on.
one more.
Huh?
Forgot one more.
Oh,
It's something that
well, those are the 7 of the usuals.
yeah, but there is one more spiritual animal that we forget that
They're all
exists.
spiritual.
The dragon.
A dragon.
The dragon also exists too.
But the whole idea, when we look at it, the laws that were given to us was laws of peace and love. Unfortunately, are we going to follow the supreme being laws, or are we going to follow human law? Because human law screws everything up,
Yep, it
because it
does.
comes down to the fact that they are the important ones. The ones who lead are the important ones, not the creator. But you look at all religions, and it's kind of funny that that's why I have a lot of respect for the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, because they have the message of the Supreme Being down packed. They follow the Creator's rules and regulations. Unfortunately, they head a religious order and they're human. So, are we going to listen to the human beings, or are we going to listen to what nature teaches us on how to live together? But unfortunately, we're allowing people to gain the power to influence us and manipulate our daily lives. And we don't realize that basically, again, when the time comes to be judged, are you going to be judged on who you follow? Are you going to be judged because you follow the Creator's rules and regulations? Or are you going to follow man and woman's regulations? So there's going to be a time that people are going to have to choose.
You say when you're judged, how does that work in indigenous ways? Because, you know, depending on other religions, like the Egyptians, you went, I can't remember which god it was now, but your heart was weighed against a feather, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So how does that work in your tradition then, that you judged?
Yeah, like the eagle feather or the family of the eagle, they represent a message. So when you have their feather, if you utilize the feather correctly and you sit there and you ask for certain things, you can put the tobacco on the feather and the eagle will carry that message up to the source of the power.
Well, that's interesting, but my question was about what's your judgment day?
That's what?
When is your judgment day in your traditions then? That's what I was asking.
Judgment Day basically is when so many people decide to follow human rules rather than the Creator's rules. That will be the Judgment Day, because there will no longer be a positive. I always kind of, when I look at things, I look at Star Trek, and they have a engine that powers the ship, and there's a negative and a positive. And if the negative gets out of balance and they don't correct it, it blows up.
Dad,
Hold on.
it's Star Trek, not track. It's an E.
Star Trek. So anyway, the whole idea comes that when we become so unbalanced that there is no more positive energy, that's Judgment Day.
But you did say a minute ago, when you are judged, you'll be judged on whether you followed some batshit crazy leader like you've got right now, or whether you followed the creator. When does that happen to you then? When are you judged on that?
Well, like I said, there's free choice. And I can.
I mean, is
Show
it at the point
people-
of death, or what?
Is what now?
Is it at the point of death that
Well,
you're
there is
judged?
no.
Well, that's why I was trying to pinpoint when this judgment happens to you.
Yeah, it's the other thing I learned too the other day too is that whales
Mm-hmm.
know when they're going to pass,
Do they?
so they go to the deepest part of the ocean and they dive down and go down until finally they end up giving up their life at the bottom of the ocean. So we sit there, and in life, a lot of people know when they're going to pass, especially those who know that they've lived a good life and they know that they're going to go to the source of power. I had a brother-in-law. It was funny because they had put him in a hospice, and all the family was there, and he just sat there and he just told the family, he said, "Don't grieve for me. I'm ready to go home." And he passed. My dad was the same way when he told my mom, you know, he sat there and he turned to her and he said, I've always loved you. You've always been the love of my life. But now it's time for me to go." And he laid on her lap and he went. What a way, And when you think about it, you know, he knew it was time, but he wanted to make sure that she understood that he loved her and he still loved her, but he had to go home.
You're still not answering my question on judgment then. At what point was your dad judged then? On whether he'd followed judgment. When was your dad judged? Because you're
Well,
saying, I'm just trying to clarify what you said earlier, that at some point you are judged on whether you follow leaders, human leaders, or whether you follow the creator. When does that judgment happen?
well, the whole idea comes to the point like Judgment Day, when it's time to be judged. Who do you think judges you? You have to judge yourself all your life. Remember, they always talk about your life flashes before you? Well, the same way, when in Judgment Day, your whole life flashes before you. So if your good outweighs your evilness, or your bad side, you're accepted. But if you're been evil, like say for instance Trump, Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, you know damn well they're not gonna make it. They're sent to a place where their energy no longer exists. So that's what Trump always says, that he knows he's going to be chosen. He lives in a fantasy world because he's already been judged. And a lot of people know where he's going. So again, you judge yourself at the time that you either enter into the source of the power or you reject it. And that's why we don't have a concept of hell, and we don't have a concept of the devil. We never have. But we do have a place where we know that evil is sent if you haven't lived a good life.
I just want to rewind because we've got another voice in the background occasionally, like muted a bit, but Matthew was talking about dragons. I didn't know that dragons appeared in your mythology or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, even they're starting to, in society today, they're starting to uncover many things that they never believed in. And all of a sudden, they're discovering skeletons of dragons, skeletons of horses with wings. And they always say, like, if you look at Facebook or anything like that, you'll always see, who were the first Americans? The first Americans didn't come to this country until the Revolutionary War. Then they became Americans. So when they say, who were the first Americans who came here, that would be them. But what they forget, there's always been people here on Turtle Island. It's when I had the vision of the human circle of life. They showed me the four colors, the major colors: red, yellow, black, and white. But the yellow, black, and white, they came in human forms, but they were upside down. Only the red people were upright. And in the vision, they said that we have to teach these other colors that they're wrong in their belief system. You're going to have to turn them so they can become upright. And what that means is that the indigenous people had to reteach all these people when they came back to Turtle Island how to get upright. And that was to give them rules and regulations. But because of the rules and regulations were not of a religious tone, religion decided, they said, we can't control the people if they believe in their spiritual connections, so we'll kill the indigenous people. So that's why everything's so upside down right now, is because, number one, they try to destroy the teachings of the spiritual understanding of the indigenous people.
And
Matthew wants to say something.
we're not the only ones that they destroy knowledge from. They also destroy knowledge from Indian culture too, because Alexander and the British destroyed a lot of that knowledge there.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of our knowledge to spirituality, that actually India had the most knowledge of spirituality, but now that's all gone.
Well, I won't say it's gone, because you got the Upanishads, you got the Vedas, you got all sorts of things that have survived British rule.
I'm not saying it's all gone. I'm saying is that they only hold so little of information now because they lost so much information.
I would disagree with you on that, because India is probably one of the places that hasn't lost it compared to anywhere else that the Abrahamic religions have come.
Remember, Alexander conquered India and he destroyed a lot of their knowledge. We didn't realize that until later, that Alexander was destroying knowledge. But he's not the only one. I mean, look what happened here in America with all of the knowledge we had.
Oh, I won't disagree with you on that one. But we had the same over here. You've got to bear in mind that before Christianity came here, we had the Druids, we had the Celts, we had a lot of knowledge, and ours wasn't written down. You know, it was an oral tradition, and so we lost a lot of information over here. So,
but that's the funny thing. My dad told me that actually India actually knew the 14 levels of spirituality. You know what they know now? Only 7. We lost the other 7.
Maybe look a bit deeper.
When we go back, what is society starting to find out? They're finding out that all their knowledge was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, people who were the first Americans, I mean, that was ridiculous that they think that when people start coming back, that they were Americans. No, they're not Americans. They were Europeans. They were Asians. They were Africans. And they always say that the cradle of life was Africa. Now they're starting to find out that the North was the creation of life. So when you listen to all these theories, I wish they would go hug a tree and have a vision.
I will go with that.
And get the truth. That all they have to do is basically follow the rules and regulations that were given to us, and they could have a vision, and they can get all the knowledge they want of what happened. It's just like before, the way that I was shown was that there was an ancient civilization that was started in Turtle Island, which you call North America. And then from there, the knowledge was spread. But now they're starting to find out there was a civilization that were not human beings. I always say that the people who came, and we want to call them there could be others, but we call the ones I know star people. that were here, and they settled on Turtle Island. And they created a human race. And they gave us rules and regulations to live by. And we followed those rules for many, many thousands and thousands of years. And then we migrated to other parts of the world. And if you look at the world itself, it fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. So, and they're starting to find out that dinosaurs who only roamed on the Turtle Island. They think like the camel, say, for instance, the camel was originally from North America, not from Egypt, not from Saudi Arabia. That it basically, this home was North America. So if people would sit there and ask their questions and then offer tobacco, and then they could get the answer from the source itself. And this is what I've been trying to teach people is there's really some simple, how would you say, simple ceremonies that they can utilize that will help them to connect. And I always said, I'm here. And if people really want to learn how to connect, I'll come and I will teach them. But they have to set things up. I can't set things up here because I don't have the people that I need to contact. They have the knowledge. I don't, because they're the ones that can gather people and put together workshops and everything. And then I'll come. I'll show them how to utilize certain tools so that they can get that knowledge. Do you remember the movie Braveheart? Not Braveheart, but what was it? With Val Kilmer.
Thunderheart?
Thunderheart. What did the old lady or that young lady kept telling Elder Kibner?
I don't know, because I saw it years ago when I was stoned.
He said, gotta go to the source.
Okay.
And so I tell people, why will you listen to human beings when you can get it from the source? And all you have to do is certain ceremonies, and if it's meant for you to find out, they'll give you a vision, and they will show you. And they'll show you a gift. So once you get your gift, you can tap into that energy, and you can get a lot of answers.
Okay, I did make a mistake. Okay, so Alexander was the 4th century. They lost a lot of their knowledge during the 8th and 13th century. That's where they lost a vast amount of their knowledge in India.
But that was because, yeah, I think
because of war and other things.
Yeah, the reason why we lost it is because they started to teach people that their gift and getting people to become part of their system as a human being. And rather than teach them the spiritual connection that they lost.
Right. Of all the people that have been on the planet, India's probably still got a longer history in like the written records. I don't know about compared to yours, but they haven't lost as much of their spiritual teachings. Because have you ever, I don't know what's it called, the Bhagavad Gita? Have you ever read that?
Well, you also had you also had the Tibet.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there are a lot of places that haven't lost it. Like, as I said, we've lost ours 1,000 years ago or so.
And it was kind of funny what you said too, because the Celts and the Druids had an oral tradition. That was the same thing that the indigenous people had.
Mm.
And if you look, there was so much connection. So where did they learn this connection that the indigenous people did? Is because they came from that particular place.
No. I'm going to push back on you there, because you said you go to source. Aha. So our ancestors went to source. They didn't go necessarily like go to your country. You're doing that very American thing that the whole world revolves around America.
No. Here, I'll explain this better. Okay.
Go on then, Matthew. Come on screen.
Okay, so all right, let's ask the question again.
Come on screen again. We've not seen you for a while.
All right, ask the question again. because it kind of went out of my
Yeah.
head.
Well, it wasn't exactly like America. It's not America. It's indigenous people.
Your
Okay.
Okay.
dad was saying that all the information, all the knowledge is, our
Okay.
Celtic
Here's
ancestors got
how do
it
you think
from your
universal knowledge
country.
works?
Hmm?
How does universal knowledge works?
Well, that's the big question.
It channels knowledge to us. Then we can take wherever knowledge it channels through us, we can teach
Source?
others. Yes. So
Yeah.
we give from the source so we can teach others. That's the best way to put it.
See, the whole idea comes back to the fact of number one. In the oral tradition in the Druids and the Celts, why is there so much similarity between the indigenous people and the way they do things? So they have to be part of a society, a part of a civilization that had this knowledge. And when they left Turtle Island and went to other parts of the world, they brought this knowledge with them. But you can look all over the world. Okay, tobacco. Tobacco only grew in Turtle Island, but yet in the Chinese, in the Asian culture, the white culture, the black culture, tobacco can be found in their DNA.
So can weed.
Yeah. So the whole idea is where did civilization actually begin? So civilization began on Turtle Island, but doesn't mean that it was a human civilization.
Mm-hmm.
There was a rule and regulations of whoever was here before humans were developed. They had the knowledge of the old ways, and they passed this knowledge out to the human civilization. Now, that information was given to all the indigenous people, which means all the people that became the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when they left Turtle Island, they took that knowledge with them, but then they start forgetting. They forgot how to go to the source, but there were still people who still were connected. The Druids used, when you look, one of the communication things that were utilized almost in every culture you go to, what instrument has been utilized by almost every culture?
Drum.
Right. The drum is, and then people don't realize how important a drum is because the drum sends out vibrations. And in those vibrations is a message. So if you don't know how to utilize the drum, you just play the drum for the hell. It confuses the hell out of the energies because they don't know what you're doing because you don't know the connection. If you give a thought and then you hit that drum, your thought goes into the drum and the message is sent through the vibration. Just like I've taken people who had an irregular heartbeat and I had them go before me and I told the drum, I gave it a picture of healing this person's heart and getting it back into rhythm. So I hit it and I went like that, back and forth with the drum in their heart area, hit it again, and guess what? Their heart came back in sync. Their heart was basically beating like it should be. So again, the vibration of the drum is a healing thing. But if you don't express or transfer what you want the drum to do, that's just like saying, go do that. And you look at me, do what? Go do that. Well, if I don't explain what I want you to do, what good is it? Because you'll never understand what you're supposed to do. So these instruments that were given to us, the animals and everything that basically was created, if we send the right kind of vibration, when we talk to them, they will basically assist us. They have all the knowledge. We don't.
Yep.
But we can get the knowledge from them because they're part of us and we're part of them.
Yep.
We have everything that has been created on this earth is inside of us. And we don't realize that we have the ability to connect because our brains are being basically manipulated.
Yep.
Our energy is basically dying. because you can't control the idea of the energy, the life force energy, because that is your own and you understand. Subconscious is a storage place where all the control develops. And if you don't clear out your subconscious, then it's going to be very hard for you to reconnect to who you are as an individual. So that's why I always say all knowledge is still here on Turtle Island, but only a few people still have connections with it. Why do I have the knowledge I have? Because I'm connected. And a lot of people will sit there and criticize me for what my belief system is, but I believe in what I'm connected to. So I can pass that knowledge and show people how to connect. I don't want them to basically say, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? No, I'll teach you how you can connect so that you can do it. Because your gift is your gift. Why should I steal it?
Okay, you may not have noticed Matthew come rolling in behind you. That's why I kept laughing, because he's putting his hand up going,
Okay.
I want to speak.
No, I was pointing my hand up because I'm like, I'm also connected.
All right.
But no, I did actually want to talk about my trip to Canyon City because of what my dad said about the indigenous way will actually save the human race.
Just pause one second, Matthew. Just wanted to let you know we've got 4 minutes, so can you get that story in 4 minutes?
I can get done in 4 minutes. So
Good.
I went to a Canyon City for a spiritual purpose, okay? And one of the things I learned, like my dad said, is that the indigenous way will save the human race. And one of the things I learned while I was in Canyon City is there are people that are actually getting drawn more and more into the indigenous way, actually. They're learning more of what the indigenous is all about. And that's very crazy because when I was in Canyon City, that's what they were teaching. So there are people who are connecting to the indigenous way, and when they do, they are receiving a lot of information. Because when I met these people who were very spiritual, they were connected at the same level as I was. They understood things like I did. And one of the things is that one of them has their own shop, and they did a little like an event, stuff like that. And one of the things I felt in that event that I didn't realize, energies love to dance. Would you be surprised? It's because because of what dancing represents. And my dad can say, what does dancing represent?
Represents nature.
No. It's pretty crazy. Like I said, this experience I went into Canyon City taught me what I need to hear, because it's the same things that I'm learning, and hearing it from someone else clarifies that.
I was always going to say that we should learn how to do the grass dance.
You talked about that the other week, but
Maybe it'll put hair on our top of our head.
does it work like that? I'll get on it.
Yeah, it was good for him to go down to Kansas City because he came back changed.
Where was that you went? Sorry, because
It's called Canyon City. It's southern Colorado.
all right, okay.
And it seems like more and more spiritual people are getting drawn there too.
Well, there's supposed to be a gathering, and the gathering is supposed to actually be in Colorado.
Canyon City, I'm starting to believe now.
Is that where you went the other week when we
Yep.
Yeah, he was gone for almost 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was supposed to be for a spiritual journey for me. And I learned a lot that I needed to learn.
But we have to basically get people to start organizing. The key is them. It's not me, it's them. They're the ones that have to basically take that step forward and start to understand that the knowledge is out there. I can transfer things to people on how they can get connected to the old ways, become indigenous. But I can't do that from here. If they can set up workshops, I'll come.
Oh, just to let you know, I met the Golden Eagle, the person that's supposed to be the Golden Eagle there too as well. She's very connected to the indigenous way too. And she is connected. And she's very connected too. She is supposed to be connected to the Golden Eagle.
And is that? I'm just going to use the word Native American just for the sake of speeding things up.
Yeah.
Was that person Native American?
Yep.
Right.
Oh no, she was actually she's white, but she was actually adopted into into Native American culture. Like her step parents were natives, and they taught her the old ways.
Ah,
And ever since then,
Let's-
she followed the old
Let's
ways.
put it this way: she wasn't Native American; she was indigenous.
Yep.
yeah, I know that. I was just saying it to speed
Yeah.
things up because we're going to get cut off any second now. So we'll end on that note, I guess. And
Okay.
it was an interesting chat, a bit all over the place. Thanks for listening to Straight Talk Sacred Pathway. If you'd like to ask Wananichi a question, you can email me at stuart@realityresponsibility.com. The link will be in the description. And don't forget, you can download a powerful guided meditation for free at humancircleoflife.com.